got to turn it around.
If we all could love one another, all the world could be as one. Just take time to love one another, all the world could be as one. Black man, white man, standing together, no more fighting to be done. Yellow, red man, dancing together, all the world could be as one.
This Wednesday, February 28th, WPFW celebrates 47 years of speaking truth to power, powered by the people. In celebration and commemoration of those whose shoulders this station stands on, we present Freedom Highway, a salute to SNCC, DORIE LADNER, and 47 years of jazz and justice radio. From 5 a.m. until midnight, we will illuminate and interrogate the work and legacy of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and the pivotal role many SNCC members played in the creation of WPFW. We will also be honoring one of SNCC's beloved daughters of the movement, DORIE LADNER. That's Freedom Highway, a salute to SNCC, DORIE LADNER, and 47 years of jazz and justice radio. This Wednesday, February 28th, 5 a.m. until midnight. WPFW, building a better world, one broadcast at a time.
And welcome to Heal DC, and welcome to our Freedom Highway today. We are definitely thankful and looking forward to an all-day celebration Wednesday, as Katia just said, from 5 a.m. till midnight, celebrating SNCC and our sister, my dear friend, Chuck's dear friend, DORIE LADNER. We're going to be on for 2 hours sometime that day, but we're encouraging everybody to listen. Today is our Black History Month special, the last Monday in February, and we're going to be spending a great deal of the hour honoring our Mr. Black History, none other than Chuck Hicks, for his birthday. We're going to be Chuck's going to be telling us some highlights of his life. We're going to be joined by Frank Smith in a little bit, who's also a SNCC veteran. And so we're looking forward to celebrating Chuck's birthday and hearing about all the special things happening. But we are also very excited to be honoring DC's Harriet Tubman Day coming up this Saturday. And we have someone none other than Harriet Tubman's descendant, TINA WYATT, joining us to tell us about Harriet Tubman, DC Harriet Tubman Day, and more happening this Saturday. Welcome, Tina. Is Tina on? Someone help me out if Tina's coming on or not.
I'm unmuted. I don't know why it's not coming through.
Okay, don't worry. I hear you now. So welcome, Tina. Tina, let's start out by you telling us your relationship to your Aunt Harriet.
Well, I am her 3 times great-grandniece. And how I'm related is that my grandmother, my 3 times great-grandmother, was one of her older sisters. That was sold into slavery, leaving her infant child, which was just born. So that child, Aunt Harriet took to Auburn, to Canada, and then to Auburn, New York, and then she had my great-grandmother, and so on and so forth.
Okay, and we know that Harriet Tubman's birthday is often celebrated on, or the official date might be March 10th. But you're going to be doing something, as you've been doing every year for a while now, DC Harriet Tubman Day. So let's start out with what is happening this Saturday at Westminster Church, which is, most listeners know that we call it the Jazz Church on I Street Southwest. Tell us what's happening, Tina.
Okay. Well, actually, Joni, March 10th is her death date.
Oh, okay.
1913.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
we found out also that her birth date may be the end of February or some part of the first part of March. So we found that through a midwife bill. So
Oh, okay.
but we celebrate March 10th. And that started with the elder President Bush, who proclaimed in a 1993 proclamation that, to celebrate her death date, March 10th. But I normally have mine anywhere between the 1st of March and March 10th during that week because there's so many festivities going on down in Cambridge as well. So I want people to be able to come to this one as well as go to that one. So
Yeah.
now, as far as DC's Harriet Tubman Day, we're having that this year, March 2nd, Saturday. Doors open up at 1:30. Refreshments will be served, and the program is from 2 to 4:30. And I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a great program. The MC will be Jessica Faith from NBC4 this year, and we're going to have Lieutenant General Scott Dingle, just retired Surgeon General with the Army, and also with the Washington Revel Jubilee Singers. And I think a lot of people may know of them. They're an a cappella group who sings and they use period costumes while they're singing. So, not only do you get to hear them, you get the words spoken by them as well, but you also get to see how it might have looked during that time period when they're singing those songs. And we're also going to have
Wait. Now, say their name again, Tina. The name of the group.
The group,
Yes.
Washington Revels, REVELS, Jubilee Singers.
Okay, and I know
if you go to their website, you'll see all the things that they do. It's not.
I'm on the radio.
Oh, Chuck, please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Washington Revels, Jubilee Singers. They're really fabulous. So look them up, but better than that, come out in person to hear them.
But we're also going to have Dr. Etta Fields Black. She just wrote a book, and it's called Combi. It's about Harriet Tubman and a lot of the descendants that were freed in the Gullah, in the Gullah Geechee area during the Civil War. So she'll have, she's going to talk about her book. She'll also have books there that are for sale and that she will also sign as well. And then we're going to have dancers, and we're just going to have a good time celebrating her and educating people about her role in the Civil War.
Yes, I want to say I'm so excited about coming and hearing about this book. I believe this is the first book that really focuses, as you just said, Tina, on your Aunt Harriet's role in the Civil War. So I'm really excited to hear her, to get a copy of that book, and hopefully in the future we'll have her on. But that's really going to be exciting to hear her as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that because they wanted to say, different people wanted to say, oh, well, she wasn't there or anything like that. But in her book, she shows, it can prove that she was there.
Absolutely she was, and that's a very important role that she played. We hear about the people that she helped escape through the Underground Railroad, but the role I think it's often said she helped to free over 700 people with the Civil War, I
You know,
believe.
approximately 750
Yeah.
were freed as they went down the Combahee River, and they just came running, you know, from the plantations, and you know, wanted to get on board of the one of Lincoln's gunboats, you know, what she was standing on. So
Yeah.
yeah, but they
Yes.
got out. They got out.
Yes, they did. And so, listeners, if you have children, if you know young people that you can bring on Saturday, that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
As well as everybody.
I want to add to that, Joy. I'm glad you said that because I just posted on. I don't usually go on Facebook, but I posted the program, the flyer. But I also made a post about, because there's so much going on trying to take away our history from the schools and other places and things like that. And the way I feel about it is that, you know, years ago, especially when I was growing up, you know, our history was not taught in the schools there and then as well. Very rarely would you see that. But where we got our history from was from our homes. We got them from our churches, and we got them from, you know, when during the 60s, where the African American cultural centers started popping up. They taught the African and the African American history. So what I'm saying about this is that things like the program I'm having, all the Black History programs, things that Chuck puts on, and Frank, and at the Civil War, going to the museums, the African American museums, and things that relate. That's where our children can and parents can pick up the history and also learn it. But you have to take your children there, and that's our responsibility. So whether they have African American history and our part in the role in America being taught in schools or not, you know, our children can still get it.
Absolutely.
If we take them to those programs and to the museums and teach them.
Absolutely. And I would say all children. And Tina, as you very well know, I'm always telling you, my mother started talking to me about Harriet Tubman when I was a baby. And she used to take us to the Underground Railroad sites. So we knew that the schools that would be the last thing these schools would have done, even now. So Tina is right. Please bring the young people that you know. As many young people as you can should be coming out on Saturday. It's going to be a wonderful, wonderful program.
And this year, the ROTC, the presenting and the retiring of the colors, is going to be done by I think the name of the school now, I forgot. It's Wilson, but it's called the
Reed, Jackson Reed, is it?
Jackson Reed, yes.
Yes.
And their junior ROTC is going to perform that.
Okay, great. So you
have children participating in the program as well as the dancers.
Absolutely. And so this coming Saturday, March 2nd, the program starts at 2, but you can come at 1:30. It goes till 4, and that is at
4:30. It goes to 4:30.
4:30, and that is at Westminster Church, which is 400 I Street Southwest. Right? People maybe know that it's just about 2 or 3 blocks from the Green Line Metro. You can park, although parking is a little tight these days there. But I hope to see a lot of you, and a lot of you can meet Tina, and it's going to be a very uplifting and important event. But we also want to let people know that the following week in Cambridge, and as many of you know, you can share, Tina. First of all, tell people what is there in Cambridge that relates to Harriet Tubman.
Well, it's where she was born. And she was born in Peters Neck, Maryland, which is outside of Cambridge. But the fascinating thing about that is that it's pretty much untouched from when she was there. So it looks just like it was almost when she was there. You know, the the different buildings and sites, the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Visitor Center, which opened in 2017. That's open now, and that's out there in Church Creek, Maryland. And they have many programs out there. And they also have the exhibits that tell her story. And this week, the March 9th, on Saturday, March 9th, they're going to have a special event happening in the morning before the afternoon event. The morning event starts at 11, and that is the U.S. Postal Service remembers the shining beacons of the Underground Railroad on New Forever stamps, which Aunt Harriet is a part of that. So there are approximately, I think there's 10 of them that will be unveiled. And so that will happen. You have to make, they're suggesting that you RSVP if you want to attend that ceremony. And you can do that at usps.com/Underground Railroad. And then in the afternoon, at around 1 o'clock, they will start their usual Harriet Tubman Day program that they usually have every year. And you'll also be able to see the Washington Rebel singers out there as well. Oh, yeah. So you can get a double dose. You come to mine and you go to theirs, and you'll see both. Absolutely. Both times.
And I want to urge.
It'll be a great time.
Yes, I want to urge listeners to, even if you, especially if you have not yet been to that area, you do really feel Harriet Tubman's spirit there quite a bit. Yeah. And it's a wonderful museum. The National Park Service, as Tina just said, opened it in 2017 with a big celebration. But it's going to be a very moving and inspiring day there on March 9th. So if you could make it out there, I know our friends, the twins, Sharon and Karen, are taking a busload, but hopefully you can find your way up there. It's very, very inspiring. And again, a very important place to bring young people as well.
And they don't have many spaces left, Joni. When I saw her on Sharon, she said that they don't have many spaces left, so better hurry up.
I know. No, we're not even giving that information out because there's not enough room. But we need to make room now for Chuck and Frank Smith. But Tina, we're so happy you could join us today, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday, this coming Saturday, March 2nd, 1:30 at Westminster Church. The doors open. The program starts at 2 p.m. and goes to 4:30. It will be an inspiring event. It'll be very positive, fun, and important. So be there and bring your children. Any final words, Tina, before we move on to celebrating Chuck?
Come and learn, participate in African American history.
Okay, thank you, Tina. We'll see you on Saturday.
All right, thank you. Good morning.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Okay, as we welcome Chuck on, maybe, Mike, you could play the Sojourner's Truth. Yes.
Hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. As we go marching on, we are calling Yankee soldiers who've enlisted for the war. We are fighting for the Union. We are fighting for the Lord. We can shoot a rebel father than a white man ever saw. As we go marching on. Look there above the center where the flag is waving bright. We are going out slaving. We are bound for freedom of life. We mean to show Jeff Davis how the
Chuck Hicks. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Joni. Thank you.
That is a perfect way to welcome Chuck Hicks on for his birthday celebration. He loves that song, as I do. And, of course, that song symbolizes a lot of what Chuck Hicks's life has been about. Right, Chuck?
Absolutely.
So I'm very excited. And if someone let me know if Frank is on yet with us.
Yes, I am.
Oh, welcome, Frank. I'm so happy you're there. So we're going to be celebrating Chuck for the rest of the hour, and Chuck's going to be telling some of his stories about the highlights of his life, which is truly amazing. But Frank, why don't you say a few words about Chuck and why he's your good friend and why he's so important to us in the community?
Well, first of all, let me say happy birthday to Chuck. I missed his big event last weekend. But Chuck is like me, we celebrate 3 or 4 or 5 days, sometimes the whole month. So I knew I still had a chance to say hello and thanks and happy birthday.
And Frank, just let me say that tonight, we're going to be talking about this at the end of the show. Chuck is being honored at Arena Stage, 7 p.m. tonight. It's a free event, the whole 2 hours honoring Chuck at 7 p.m. So he's still celebrating now, Frank.
Well, I know. I'll be there tonight too to say happy birthday to him one more time. But I would like to just also say that I'm a little older than Chuck, not by much, but a little bit older. And I know from experience, because we've talked about this many times together, that we don't take it for granted, this long life that we've been allowed to live. Having grown up in the deep South, Chuck in Louisiana and me in Georgia, having seen a lot of Klan activity, a lot of house burning, a lot of people being brutalized, and still being able to come in a young life, really in our 20s, to Washington, D.C., where Chuck has been able to make a name for himself. He's known here as Mr. Black History, and I think everybody in Washington knows that now. And when you say Mr. Black History, that's Chuck Hicks. Because he made a name for himself for doing all these various events. And so I'm just happy to be his friend. I'm glad to be spared one more time to be able to say happy birthday to him and look forward to many more.
Absolutely. And in a few minutes, we're going to play that happy birthday song. But Chuck, we're so excited to be celebrating your birthday, and we're going to kind of quickly go through some highlights of your life, which some people may not know. And, of course, we can start in Bogalusa. You've shared many times, and we've spent hours on the air talking about your dad, the founder of Deacons for Defense, founded it on the day that Malcolm X was killed. And we've talked about what happened to your family, which if you want to just summarize in a minute. But we also have not heard, and you just told me the other day, about what happened to you when you tried to start college in Louisiana. So anyway, welcome, Chuck. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So give us just one sentence, because we've talked about it a lot, about Bogalusa and your dad, but then jump right into what happened when you tried to start college. You were the first person in your family to attend college. But tell us what happened just briefly with your dad and the Deacons.
Well, my dad and my mom were both my heroes and sheroes. They were just an incredible couple. And, of course, I think that my mom was the backbone for my dad. That she encouraged him, and he turned to her for advice all the time. But she was the encouraging one in the family, pushing all of us to go further and to do more. I had, from growing up, from my earliest remembrance, I knew I was going to college. There was never any doubt that I was going to college. I would be the first one in my family. And I had been at Southern for about 2 years, and the Peace Corps volunteers came on. But during that time, there had been a boycott in Bogalusa on the stores. And people, my dad and them organized food drives to take them to other parts of the parish to buy groceries and food and not shop in Bogalusa.
And why
after
was
about
there a
6
boycott,
months,
Chuck?
it began
Chuck,
to cripple
Chuck, why was there a
the city.
boycott?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm asking you, tell people why there was a boycott.
Huh?
Why was there a boycott in Bogalusa?
Oh, because they were demanding jobs in J.C. Penney's and in grocery stores and hiring people in City Hall and getting black policemen and firemen and all of that. And so that the boycott had gone on for about 6 months, and the Chamber of Commerce went to the mayor and asked the mayor to call the governor to put an end to it. So the governor flew my dad and A.Z. Young down and said he wanted a cooling off period. And when they said no, to make a long story short, the governor struck out at my dad by striking out at me because I was at 7. So in the middle of the night, the dean of men called me in and said, you know, we got these Peace Corps volunteers, and you and a couple of other people have been having dinner with them, and we're concerned about problems. So we don't want any problems. So we assured them that we just have dinner, and we sat on the quad, and that was it. And as we were leaving, the dean of men said, Mr. Hicks, I need you to stay. He said, you're the ringleader of this, and to make sure that this continues, I am expelling you. And I said, right, Dean Jones. He said, no, I'm serious. I said, right, serious. And he held up the paper. And he said, you are being expelled as of now. He said, the only thing that I can do for you, Mr. Hicks, is that I can let you withdraw. And if you withdraw, your record will not follow you. And later I understood that it was not his decision, because he fought probably to let me withdraw rather than be expelled. So I had to call my parents in the middle of the night around 6:30 and say that I'm being kicked out of school, and I have 2.5 hours to get everything I own off the campus. The state troopers are going to come and put it on the side of the road. And I had no idea what was going on. I was simply devastated. And I think that if I had thought about suicide, I would have considered it. I wouldn't have done it, but it would have crossed my mind as an option. And so my parents said, don't worry, we'll be there. And they drove like hell to get me there, and they got me there on time. And so as I'm packing my clothes and everybody's coming saying, what's going on, Chuck? What's happening? I said, I don't know, except I'm being kicked out. And so that was the beginning of one of the most devastating experiences in my life. I will never, ever forget.
And this is the first time I'm hearing you tell the story.
Then, Joan, I can hardly hear you.
Okay. Keep going. I said I never heard that story before.
Yeah, and so we got home, and then it was a double whammy because I came home 2 weeks before Easter break. So everybody knew I was home and wanted to know what had happened. And while we were involved in the civil rights movement, there were lots of people in town that did not like us, didn't care for us. So this was, see, they got that Hicks boy, and he's out of school. He must have done something over there. And so I felt that I had let my family down. Even in high school, when back then, when you got to be a senior and you were a black boy, the Army came around and you took a test for the Army. And when they asked me to take the test, I wouldn't take it. And the sergeant said, he was white, he said, why aren't you taking this test, boy? And I said, because I'm going to college. And I wouldn't take it, so he went and got the principal. And Mr. Crump said, Brother Hicks, why are you not taking the test? I said, because I'm going to college, so there's no need for me to take it. So I had all those kinds of things. And then I was facing that I had let myself down, not myself, but my family, my community. But my parents were not discouraged. They understood what was going on. And my mother said, well, one thing for sure, he's got to go to college. And we can't send him to here. And they couldn't afford a private school. They said, but if we send him to any school in the South, the government's going to track him. And they're going to, if he goes to Tennessee State, they're going to call the governor and say, you got that Hicks boy there? You know, his family's causing a lot of trouble. We kicked him out, and you need to do the same. And so finally they decided that my dad had relatives in New York and my mom had relatives in New Jersey. and that was where I was going to go. And so they put me on the bus around Easter and shipped me off to New York and New Jersey. And I was going to go to Hunter College, but there was a program that Corps had started, and they were looking for bright students in the East, and they would they were going to go to school, but they got them in better schools. And the deal was that if there was about 22 people in the program, but if a college took you, they had to give you a 4-year ride. And so they told me about it. I called the guy, and the program had closed, but Bogalusa was all over the news. And so he interviewed me. I knew he was interviewing me. He asked me a lot of questions. He said, well, let me see what I can do. 2 days later, he called back and said, we're going to let you into the program. And then, so I went to summer school at Brandeis. It was interesting because Brandeis at the time, Angela Davis was there. She wasn't on campus for the summer, but she was in school there. And so finally, they were looking for a school for me. And they were having a problem finding a school. So the guy, Everett Mackin, came and said, Mr. Hicks, where would you like to go to school? I said, I don't know, someplace like Syracuse. I have no idea how Syracuse came into my head. I don't even know if I knew about Syracuse. And he said, you're in luck. The guy I know who's a good friend is the best friends with the chancellor. He's a real good guy. He's the most popular guy on campus. And they called him up, and they called me a day later and said, Syracuse is going to take you. And when I got to Syracuse, I got there 3 days before orientation. And when I met Dr. Sawyer, he said, I think you might like this book. And he gave me Man-Child in the Promised Land as a book to read. And that was the beginning of my going to Syracuse.
And, of course, you've talked on the airwaves, which we won't have time to do it today, but then when you were giving a talk, and who was there but Fannie Lou Hamer, who encouraged you to throw down your papers and just talk from your heart.
Oh, yeah. My dad was supposed to go on a speaking tour with Sister Hamer, but there were a lot of the marchers, protesters arrested, so he had to stay to help get him out of jail. But he said, I got a son in New York. He can speak. And so I got to Hunter College, and we were backstage, and I said, Miss Hamer, you got your speech ready? She said, oh, son, I don't need no speech. I just tell them what's going on. So I spoke first, and I had my little speech, and I got my papers mixed up, and I started to get lost. She said, boy, put those papers down and tell them what they're doing to your family in Bogalusa. And so I did that, and from then on, I've been on the road.
That's right. And we're going to take a little minute at Chuck's request to play a little happy birthday music. By, of course, none other than
could I just ask Chuck one question before we start the music? What year was it that you started at Syracuse, Chuck? Do you remember?
About 65, 64, 65.
Okay. I'm always trying to place people because I was in Mississippi during those years. And but let me say one other thing about Syracuse, too.
Oh, wait. Frank, let's, because this is a little break in our talk, so let's just hear a little bit of Stevie Wonder.
Clap your hands, y'all. Clap your hands. As the celebration continues. It's time. It didn't make much sense. Come on. Let's be alone again. Anyone that took offense, tell them that oh what? In your celebration, thoughts in our minds. Turn them up. That there ought to be a time that we can set aside to show you United Nations how much we love you. And I'm sure you will agree. Will fit me perfectly. And I'm ready for the day you came to me. Happy birthday to you.
Okay, and this is a special show wishing Chuck Hicks a happy birthday. Okay, Frank, keep going.
Yeah, I was just curious about what year it was because all the civil rights groups had an arrangement with these colleges and universities, and that they could, people like us who got kicked out of school. I managed to withdraw from Morehouse before I got kicked out, so I didn't go through that. But I think, and maybe Louisiana, I think, was the only state that did this. They not only threw people out of school like Chuck, they banished you from the state. You could not attend another university in that state for life. And it was, and I would say one other thing about Louisiana too, Chuck. I never told you this, but we had a guy, one of our civil rights workers, who got arrested there in New Orleans on some kind of a sit-in. They sent him to that prison there in Louisiana, that notorious prison, Angola, I believe it is.
Yes, Angola, right?
Yeah, they gave him 15 years because we had helped some high school kids march in a demonstration. So they locked most of us up for parading without a permit. But they managed to get him for contributing to the delinquency of a minor because the kids were all 14 and 15 years old. They sent him to Angola. And the only time I ever went to that prison was when I went over to visit him. It was awful to see this place and to see somebody sitting there who didn't know when he was going to get out. And he stayed in there for a long time. He may be the longest serving SNCC person that served more time than anybody in the civil rights movement in SNCC, I know for sure.
Yeah.
That's why
And what was his name? What's his name? Okay, Dion, maybe you.
Dion,
yeah.
Diamond.
Yes, and you know, Frank, all day Wednesday we're going to be celebrating SNCC and DORIE LADNER. So maybe you can come on with us again on Wednesday, because this is very, very important history that people should know. But we have to keep moving with Chuck's life. And one thing that I wasn't aware of is Chuck's role. Once he came to D.C., of course, he did many things, but I want to make sure we talk about the role that Chuck played in the Million Man March. So, Chuck, tell us that story, how Ben Chavis...
Marion Barry had endorsed the Million Man March, so he got all the union leaders. Most of the union leaders were black in D.C., except for maybe the fire department and the police. But all other unions in D.C. were black. And so we got up, he endorsed the march, and he had all us there to endorse the march. And I got up and I said that I was from Bogalusa, Louisiana, and that was a place where the Deacons for Defense and Justice was started. And I spoke about the importance of the Million Man March. And after that, Ben Chavis came up, Dr. Chavis came up and said, "Oh, man, I know all about the Deacons. I know about your dad." He said, "I want you to speak at the Million Man March. As a matter of fact, I want you on the committee." And so I sat on the steering committee. When Minister Farrakhan came in and all of that, I was there. But what I did do was, the honor was that I was in charge of coordinating all the unions who came from all over the country to be a part of the march. I was a coordinator for that, which was a great, great honor. And I got to speak at the Million Man March. And it was most of one of the high points that I should always remember, because there were, as a march for a while, it didn't look like it was going to happen. But within 3 weeks, it just started like a tidal wave. People started calling. And we were open we worked from 7 in the morning to probably 12, 1 o'clock at night, and the phone was constantly ringing with people wanting to come. And then if you were a council member from someplace in Connecticut, they called and said, "Well, a Councilmember Brown is coming from Connecticut. He wants to be on the program." I mean, everybody who you could think of wanted to be on the program to speak, and it just was not possible. So I felt incredibly honored, not only to serve on the committee, because most of the people on the committee did not speak.
Yes, and Chuck, tell us at that point, because another one of the highlights in your life is that you were the president of AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, DC Council 20, which is the largest union in the DC area. And you were president at some point. Were you already involved with that?
I served not for a moment or two. I served as executive director. I served as political action director, which I think was a big key point because anybody who got elected in the city, Council 20 got them elected, including Marion Barry when he ran for city council, including Frank Smith when he ran for city council. And so we did all of that. The thing that I am most proud about is that when the mayor, they were after the mayor because they had too many city employees. And the Congress was demanding that he cut back 3,000 employees. And we had a meeting with him and through Dennis Houlihan, and we worked out a deal that we presented to Marion Barry and said, if you don't lay off any of the workers, because we knew if you were going to lay off 3,000 employees, 75% of them would be frontline workers. We said that this is what we'll do. We'll take a furlough day, one day every day, for every month, 4 days a month. And then we had just got an increase, a wage increase, and we will give up our wage increase if you keep all the employees on. And this is the first place in the country where rollback started and furlough day started. We started that to save employees' jobs. And he did it. And he made a commitment that when the city got some money, he would reinsure our 3%. And he did.
That was Marion Barry.
The union has always been such a strong. As a matter of fact, Eleanor Holmes Norton, when she was running, says today that if it had not been for Council 20, who had a lot of members in Ward 7 and 8, she never would have gotten elected. Because Betty Ann King was leading her. And after Council 20 turned out the members, the majority of members in Ward 7 and 8, and Eleanor became the congresswoman.
Wow, and AFSCME DC20 was very much there at the Million Man March.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
Chuck?
Yeah. Well, we played host to all the unions coming in. We had our council office open, and when they came in, we had food and coffee, donuts, and everything. And then we had a stand set up for them on the ground. So, yeah.
Wow.
We were very, very happy and pleased to be the host committee for all the unions who came from all over the country.
Wow, that is really exciting. That is really exciting. That's something we need to say often, Chuck. Often.
But Joni, one of the interesting things to highlight also for me was that after getting to Syracuse, I became the first Black student body president. As a matter of fact, I became president of the union, of the student union as a junior and the first Black. But being president of Syracuse, student body president of Syracuse University, two things happened. One is that the night before our campaign was to start, we were rehearsing our speeches, and somebody came in and called my campaign manager and said something to him. He called my vice president, then he called the secretary, then they called the whole team. Then they came over to me and said, Chuck, we don't know how to tell you this except to say that Dr. King has been assassinated. So the day before I was to start my campaign, Dr. King was assassinated. So I just said I wouldn't campaign until after his services. So when I wouldn't do it, my slate said they wouldn't do it. And then the other slate said they wouldn't campaign either until after King's services. And of course, I won student body president. Syracuse is asking me for my papers. Almost a year ago, I met the new chancellor, and he asked me what was it like to be student body president. And I said it was the best of times and the worst of times. I was the first Black. I helped start the Black Student Union. We had only 40, 45, 50 students when I came to Syracuse. But being a student body president was not an easy job because I had Black students who demanded things of me, and we had a Black student union, and there were things that they were doing that as student body president I should not have been able to do. I was a student body president. Then there were whites who didn't want me to be president. So it was not an easy job being the first. There was tension on both sides, but it was a wonderful experience. And it's something I learned from, but it was not cake and honey. by no means.
Yes, and we're listening to Chuck Hicks, who of course is our co-host, but also we're honoring him for his birthday, and joined by Frank Smith, who's a SNCC veteran, of course, founder of the African American Civil War Museum, city council person, and much, much more. In a moment, we're going to talk about the special event tonight at Arena Stage, and I don't know if Thelma Jones is on yet. If she's not, maybe Mike could give her a call. But let's keep going. We have about 5 minutes left. Of course, Chuck, we're glad to hear about Bogalusa. We're glad to hear about Syracuse and the Million Men March. But we have a minute or two. And AFSCME, and of course, AFSCME represents many, many different workers in the D.C. area, including sanitation workers. And that's how I first met Chuck, was at a big rally that PFW had with sanitation workers, and there was Chuck standing out in the crowd. That's how Chuck and I met. So, Thelma is on, and she's going to talk in a minute about what's happening tonight. But just share one other sentence or two about AFSCME. And of course, we know that Chuck also founded the Bread for the Soul organization, where he has events every Christmas season and collects books and toys for children, especially children with HIV. Chuck played a major role in the HIV epidemic, and of course is Mr. Black History. But just give us 1 minute about AFSCME, Chuck, before we move on to Thelma.
I come out of a union family. My dad was president of the union in Bogalusa, and the things that I have been able to do, the union has, and not only Council 20, but union members from the teachers to the Teamsters, to all of the unions have been very, very supportive in terms of the many issues and things that were about that I was interested in doing in terms of Black history. But also, we have been able to keep workers working in the city. And I am grateful that I was able to be a part of that. I'm grateful for the leadership today that continues to struggle. Being in the union is not an easy job, oftentimes, because sometimes people forget how they got to be, how their children, the children of union leaders, of where they are because of the unions. I'm so oftentimes reminded that it's people because of the unions that were able to send their kids off to college, to send them to graduate school and do all these different things. And when I hear people start talking about they don't believe in unions, I say if it hadn't been for the union, you wouldn't have been in college. You wouldn't be that teacher. You wouldn't be that lawyer. You wouldn't be that doctor.
Yes,
the union is a backbone of workers. And as my dad says, there's never a better friend than a union. Frank and I can be the best of friends, and he can be a supervisor. And if the other manager said, I want you to fly Chuck Hicks, he has to do it. If he doesn't do it, they'll fire him and get somebody else to do it. But if we have a contract, Frank can say, I can't fire him. He's got a contract.
Okay, Chuck.
The union saves the workers and the contract. That's important. That's our lifeline.
Absolutely, it is. And of course, in this country, they don't want you. They're going to do everything they can to make sure we don't lift up the unions. But we're very proud of you, Chuck. And we almost out of time now. Thelma, I'm sorry to bring you on so late, but tell us very quickly. You're only giving Chuck 3 minutes, so I'm going to give you 1 minute to tell us what's happening. Chuck is going to be speaking tonight at the Arena Stage. So welcome, Thelma. Tell us what's happening tonight and how people can come.
Thank you, Joni, and it was an honor to hear all about Chuck's life again as well. So tonight at Arena Stage, located at 1101 6th Street, we will have the Southwest Neighborhood Assembly's History Task Force Black History Celebration. We are pleased to honor Chuck as our inaugural outstanding community leader. So this will be tonight at 7 p.m., again, at Arena Stage. And our guest speaker for the program will be Carol Moonen, who is a film producer, playwright, and a community leader, among other great achievements. And we'll also have greetings from our council member, Charles Allen. The event is free and open to the public. We're happy that Arena Stage is hosting us, and Arena Stage new artistic director, Hannah Sharif, will be there also to give opening remarks, along with a list of other wonderful performers, dramatic and choral, including the Richard Wright dancers, performers Cecily and Melanie Bates.
Wow. Thank you so much, Thelma, for putting this together. I'm so sad I'm in New York, but I'll be there in spirit. That's 7 o'clock tonight at Arena Stage, which people know is in Southwest D.C. And so I'm hoping a lot of listeners can come. Frank, if you're still there, you can give one final word, and of course, Chuck, a final word as well. Is Frank still on?
I'm looking forward to this great coronation tonight, Thelma. I certainly will be there because I wouldn't miss this for the world. As I said earlier, we shouldn't take it for granted that we're going to be able to see 80 and 85, especially black men, especially us. We've had all the history of, in addition to all of the sheriffs and the hangman's nooses that we've avoided as civil rights workers, we also have to live with all of the other things, the high blood pressure and diabetes and all that. So for us to get to be 80 years old is a blessing. And so, Chuck, I'm happy to celebrate with you because you've done a great job in life and the Lord has spared you. And so it's a blessing to always see you. I'll see you tonight.
Thank you.
Chuck, have a wonderful celebration tonight. And in a minute, we're going to go out with the Freedom Highway song, which is another one of Chuck's favorites. Of course, Chuck and Frank and many of us are on this Freedom Highway. We're going to be celebrating SNCC. DORIE LADNER, our DORIE LADNER, Chuck and I and Frank are very, very close friends with DORIE, who's having some major health challenges. We're going to be celebrating her all day Wednesday as we celebrate PFW's 47th anniversary from 5 a.m. till midnight. Chuck, your final words real quick.
Well, I certainly am grateful for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the things that have got me where I am today. And I am appreciative of all the people who believe that I can do and support me and push me in. It's because of you that I'm able to do the things that I do. So I salute all my friends and supporters and people who do the things that I do, that I'm not the only one out here doing it. And so my hat's off to everybody who takes one step towards making life better for other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. And we want to thank our wonderful engineer, Magic Mike, as well as Mari, who helps us. And thank you, Frank and Thelma and everybody. We're very proud of Chuck Hicks. Here we go on the Freedom Highway. We'll see you again on Wednesday.
The Freedom Highway.